Hello, hello. This is Davin, Eco Build in Texas. I have been the one in charge of streaming for HEXdreams Telegram group. Hello, Hex Dragon. Good to see you.
Eco Build, Davin, how you doing?
Good. How are things going with you?
Really good. Just getting caught up a bit on some Hex foodie stuff. Excited to see you and everyone else who's coming on today.
Yeah, Finbear tells us that he'll be a little bit behind. He said he would be late. However, it seems like maybe he's hinting that he's only going to be 5 minutes late. He cursed fallback time, time changing. Is that happening? When? Did that happen today?
Yesterday?
Okay. These auto sets, on the digital times, they do it all for me.
Yeah, just if you get up early, you notice it was a little darker.
I did, yeah, the other day. Man, for some reason I've been drinking alcohol for the last 3 nights, and so like my throat is deeper, scratchier, lymph nodes swollen. I'm taking it to the limit, so I need to back off of that stuff.
Sure.
So last time when you weren't able to join us, or you gave us a shot of your farm, I kind of had this idea where I would take screenshots of the stuff that we were talking about and then start to create the thumbnail for the YouTube so that people could have visuals at the same time that, I don't know, I'm creative. But I really need a co-host whenever I do that sort of thing.
For sure.
Do you have any topics you want to, or anything,
Yes.
ring your bell in the Telegram?
Let me be right back. And yes,
Okay.
I have some.
Cool. So recently I was contacted through permies.com because there's almost 4,000 people who have, or my thread at permies.com about Hex token has been reached or clicked on almost 4,000 times. And, a few hundred of that is probably me. But I've been, since the announcement of how Richard's going to do a token or a coin, I had been updating everybody on permies.com. And so yesterday I got a nice message inside of the website. They've got a messaging system. And this guy says that he's trying to get his family out of poverty. He wants to know if a man can really change his stars. He says that he's got a 1-year stake, a 2-year stake, and a 3-year stake. And he basically wanted advice on what I think about getting into stocks, selling some things to put more money in, or when to cash out, those sorts of things. Of course, I skirted a lot of the financial questions, but he really thanked me, and I feel like I was on all cylinders when I replied to this. And then he sent me a nice note saying, "Thank you so much for getting people into this. You have no idea how awesome it is for you to bring crypto and permaculture together." And that praise really goes out to everybody in this group. So thank all the Hex foodies. Go ahead, Dragon, take it over.
Yeah, well, the one thing I would share with people who want to get out of poverty is still an instant gratification mindset. I can tell by how he staked. He's like 1, 2, 3 years
out of poverty.
And that's not how it works. It isn't.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in poverty. Like, you have to understand that even 15 years is instant gratification by if you're considering changing your socioeconomic situation. So I have this, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the stream yet, but I do abundance mindset coaching. So I have a crypto fund, and part of that comes with coaching, which is helping to prepare you for a wealth mindset or an abundant mindset. And it's important because like I've had a lot of people invested in HEX, and they call me up like, what's going on with HEX? What's going on? Oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm like, they're so short term. They're just not ready. They're like, do I sell? Do I buy? What's going on? Is it over? Like they freak out, and they have to switch to this long-term perspective and to be able to delay their gratification. And part of that comes with having a 5-5-5 stake, 5-5-5-5 stake, where you're really going to see what happens. Because if you're just in 1 year, we could be at 30 cents in 1 year, like, or 20 cents still. It's possible. We stayed at 1 cent for almost half of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had some major ups, and we actually went way over where we should be. I think we're at about where HEX should be right now, at 20 cents.
When we zoomed past 25, I was really surprised that it was just keep on going. And I told my girlfriend, like I don't know what's happening right now. It's just zoomed right past 25 cents. We didn't stop there long. So I guess that's what we're doing. Yeah.
So people, they just want these quick fixes, and HEX is not a quick fix. It was great for those people who got in on the first year, and it might be great for those who are getting in on the second, and we're almost on the third year now. But HEX is about the compound interest. Ultimately, you need to not keep expecting the price to keep doing this, and to rather switch your perspective to the long term. If you do a 15-year stake, you're looking at 14xing your investment. So if you had $1 million HEX, you'd have 14 million HEX at the end of 15 years. That is how you grow your wealth. Doing a 1 year stake where you have 10% more, no, you're gambling. That's a gambling mindset where they're doing a short-term stake. That's not going to change their life. It might, but that's a gamble. But if you do a 15-year stake, you know there's going to be a significant increase in the value you have, even if the price doesn't change.
So we want people to think about the amount of HEX rather than the price of HEX.
For long term, yeah, because again, if you bought it 45 cents, it might still be 45 cents in a year. It could be in the dollars, it could be. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on with HEX that people don't understand. And also with seeing how people sell HEX, they're just dumping it. And that's good and bad. It keeps the price low, which is great for us onboarding people. But people who want the instant gratification, they're not going to be happy about that. They don't understand that. So there's a mix right there. And it is about diversification. If you want to really change life, you have to do a combination of things, not just put all your money into crypto. That's a gamble, because even though HEX is the best cryptocurrency available right now, that doesn't change the fact that the best things in the world don't often have the same place that they are. Like, what I mean by that is organic food. Organic food is superior food. Regenerative organic food is even better. Yet you can't find that in stores, even though it's the best thing to have. It's rarely available in most places because of how our economies work right now. When we have different gatekeepers, we have in Texas, I don't know if you know this, but they're subsidizing Bitcoin. We're getting all these power plants and stuff to literally mine Bitcoin in Texas because there's so much energy here. But it's all going to be dirty. We're just taking it from China, and it makes 0 sense at all. It's not logical, but it makes sense from a profit perspective because there's certain Chinese corporations are going to profit immensely, and certain politicians are going to profit immensely. So even though Bitcoin's an inferior cryptocurrency, it's getting government backing. Okay. And those are the things that make this really challenging, is we are not in a free market by any means.
Yeah.
So to conclude, what I wanted to say was that to get out of poverty, you have to change your mindset, because if you're in poverty, it's totally a mindset. I've lived without money for almost a decade, And I was wealthier than almost everybody I know because I had the right mindset, the right attitude, and the right connections. And I was doing stuff that I wouldn't be affected by whatever happened to the dollar. So this is where regeneration comes in. Is you start creating your food abundance, you start creating your resource abundance, you have water abundance, you're creating your own abundance, you have everything you need. You don't need any money for that. If you're coming at this from a consumer perspective, where you have to have all this money so you can buy all the garbage you want, then yeah, you have to gamble, and maybe HEX is the right way to go about it. But in my opinion, HEX is just part of it. It's a small part.
Wow. Yeah. Let's see. Togash, he posted a YouTube in the HEX Foodies Telegram chat about this guy who is a nomadic sheep herder, and he just goes around with a very small cart and often just a tent, barely the size of his body, and he asks permission to pass through your land, and the sheep stay interested in the landscape, and they munch, and then he gets milk from them every day. And one of his sheep in the video was pregnant, and he was expecting another one to pop out. So I don't know what he's going to do with that one, if he's going to raise it or sell it. But something that came to my mind in this thing, like okay, this guy's doing guerrilla grazing, which is pretty interesting to me, but I feel like there's often little snags whenever it is that we're trying to recycle things. And the snag to me is that he said that he was over there at like Family Dollar parking lot or something, and the goats were grazing there as well, and or the sheep. And all I can think is, wow, there might be something in the milk now that you allowed them to graze on this property that was sought after by, or that was taken care of by people who would use poisons. I mean, you can buy the poisons inside of Family Dollar itself, right inside that door. Anyway, what sort of topic did you want to bring forth today?
Well, we can talk about Togash for a little bit, and then I wanted to update on some stuff we have going on at the farm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all this grazing and stuff, this is the problem, is that we live in a time now where everyone thinks poisons are good, pesticides are good, all this kind of stuff, and we are the sickest humanity's ever been. So when you're in a natural mindset, you don't even think about those things. Like, you look at animals, they don't think about being poisoned, because why would they? They didn't evolve around all this poison. So that's a complicated mindset to be in, because then you have to enter scarcity. Like, oh my gosh, there's no clean food anywhere. So then you fall into the scarcity mindset. So it's tough, but I love that there's examples of people that are thriving, or at least enjoying their lives, without being so dependent on money, without being dependent on the systems that are here that are ultimately degenerative. And that's what I'm saying, is that it doesn't matter how much money you have. I know a lot of millionaires who are the poorest people I know, because they don't have enough. They don't have enough. And that's it. They don't recognize the abundance that's around them. They're just wanting more dollars. And like one of my friends, he's got $8 million. And he's like, I'm still poor. Like, until I have like 25 million or more, like, it's not enough. It's just like, he feels like he's lower class because he can't do everything he wants, and it's not multi-generational wealth. So it's a big mindset. And I know, again, people who much less, who are much happier, much freer. And I'm one of them. So it requires a big shift in consciousness. And I'm working on creating a space where we'll actually have an open source coaching program potentially. But it's for helping to shift people's mindsets, because that's what matters. It doesn't matter how much money people have. That's not going to fix anything. It's the mentality of trying to be competitive and trying to have as much as the people around us have. It's called keeping up with the Joneses. There's great research on that, and marketing companies use that to make people feel insecure so they can sell them more stuff. So on the farm here, we just got pigs. We got 3 pigs. So we're going to be getting some more. So every person's going to have an animal share of the pigs. We have sheep, I think I pointed out to you before. We're going to be doing some changes there. Looking at getting a dozen cows out here also. We just got 115 chickens, broilers that are being moved around. We have a chicken tractor that moves them around daily. And
Just
our garden's going great.
How many chicken tractors do you have? One? Okay, for all those. Okay.
105 chickens. Or 150. It's made for about 100 chickens. Right now we have about 114 in it. We were expecting some to die, but none have yet.
Is it like a 15-minute job per day?
It's like 5 minutes. Yeah, we have an enclosed garden, and it's like I think it's like 15 feet by 15 feet. It's kind of large. It takes 2 people to move it, but you just move it over 15 feet, and you're good. And they eat the seeds, the grass, the bugs. They're super happy. They're not free range right now because they're chicks, and we have predator birds around that would nap them. So I mean, they're free range ish, but they're still in an enclosed space for their safety. We got a few dozen more fruit trees that are going in, and we have another person who just moved out here. So our community is growing also. Cool. We got some good military or ex-military guys. So we have a lot of good skill sets out here right now.
How did you meet that person?
So
how was it that the connection came about?
So this is a friend of the property manager here. They served in Afghanistan together.
Oh, okay.
And he came from an acro-based community that is just falling apart right now. The leader of the community there is becoming an alcoholic and going through a bad breakup and super toxic, and he's just making everyone's life hell, which is something we see a lot. And that's again just reiterating the purpose of the land trust that I have, which is to protect people from tyrant landlords and rather make it so that the community can thrive, whether or not the founders are still there. So, but yeah, I mean, that's all I have for updates. Also, I guess one other interesting update for me is I have a meeting after this for doing the paperwork for a hedge fund that I've started. I haven't told anybody online about this, but I have a hedge fund that I founded, and it's called Regen Crypto. And the idea was originally to invest in new paradigm cryptocurrencies like HEX for the use of regenerative projects like what we're talking about. And one of the things I've recently realized is that I can also use the hedge fund for funding other regenerative projects directly. So we can create win-win-wins where you have a proposal for like, hey, you want to bring in these cattle that are going to restore the soil, and you need, say, like $50,000 to get the project going, and you can offer a certain amount of interest and profit share with the hedge fund. So I can diversify the hedge fund into all kinds of regenerative projects. Having crypto is great because it allows for some really high yields to offset some of these lower yielding projects. But ultimately, I think we're going to see some really long-term benefits from doing that as well. From land regeneration, which is, if we would have bought land a year ago in this area, it would have already doubled in value, which is a great investment. And then by increasing the quality of the land, it goes up further in value. So given the scarcity of land that we have in the world now, due to its basically being pillaged, it's a great economic opportunity for restoration, and I think that it's going to be really good for investors.
Well, that's
hi guys.
Hey.
There.
That's awesome to hear, man. I admire you for doing this. I have visited your site. I've seen the sponsors list, and I want to be a part of that sponsors list.
That'd be amazing. We should definitely talk more about that. I think maybe we could have another stream in the near future about what that looks like.
Okay.
And I think it'd be really great to get more of the HEX community involved. There's just so many opportunities with HEX that we can do for in tangent with these regenerative projects. And I think it could be a way to also, one other aspect I want to share that most viewers wouldn't know is we're going to have training centers and ways for people to build equity in these land projects through their labor and through their skills, and then being able to gain long-term access to land as if they owned it, but without ownership. It'll be long-term leases. So we can actually start having people who don't have any money, who want to get out of poverty, a way to enter abundance. And that's ultimately my goal, is to circumvent the need for money to provide abundant lifestyles for people. My timer's going off. I gotta go take this. So
Cool.
Thank you.
Shout out to Crispy. Yo, Hex Foodies.
Hey,
Hello,
Crispy.
Crispy. Hey, man, if you want to join,
Crispy.
the link is right here. So what's up, man? What have you been doing?
I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry I'm late. We went into daylight savings time, and that completely messed up all my schedules. I'm glad I took my phone in my hand sooner than what I was expecting. I was like, oh my god, they're about to start.
I didn't even know what day it was. So. I was just like,
oh
well,
man,
that's interesting. I slept right through that.
I was yeah.
What is that? Pineapples?
Where
is that a coin giving birth to a frog, or is that pineapple? Here on the screen.
Oh,
Crispy's contribution there.
They're like looks like 3 pineapples. Needs
cool.
a pen. You know,
I like pineapple.
Oh man, I can't get the song out of my head now. Have you heard the? I'm not even gonna say if you've. Yeah, you know the song. I mean, if you don't know the song I'm talking about, I'm just gonna save you, not talk about it. You know, these earworms that just ever leave you once you get them in your head.
There's a song that a guy named Louise just joined our Hex Foodie Telegram group. That's awesome. So there's this
welcome
song,
Louise.
Welcome. There's this song that you're testing your speakers in StreamYard, and it got into Hex-Ray Vision and my mind whenever we were over at his place in Utah, and it goes something like, testing your speakers in StreamYard sounds all right to me. Have a great show. That is it's really catchy.
Yeah, I think I heard it like last week, because I was on time and I had everything set up, and I had time to click on all the buttons. Like, now I've got the chat window open over there, and I've got like another screen over here and everything, but still I'm a bit late, so it feels horrible. But it's so nice to talk to you guys. I was pretty upset over how the last stream ended that I was watching. Not our stream, the last stream I was watching. I wasn't sort of happy about it at all. But Hex Dragon, you were talking about developing land, like using permaculture techniques or something, and that is a wonderful idea. I think it was the other fella, not Bill Mollison, but the other guy who he sort of founded the whole movement with. I forget his name. He's not been so sort of vocal as Bill Mollison was, but he bought a huge like tract of land for almost nothing. It was just overgrazed, and by Australian standards at the time, I think it was like late 60s or something. It was so badly degraded that nobody saw any value in it. And what he did was he set it up. He had these small pocket ponds and like all the sort of the water flow in the landscape, and he planted all the trees and stuff. And eventually they sold it for real estate development, but he made like tens of millions of dollars on the sale.
So is
And
it like a new age type real estate? Did they maintain the ponds and respect where the house sites were?
no, they'd probably they most likely they've fucked it all up already.
They got
So like,
real.
yeah, no, yeah. See, if
This is about
if you're
money,
gonna,
bitch.
yeah. Once you sell it, it's not yours anymore, and
Oh yeah.
what most likely what will happen is a big ass bulldozer will come over and just pull everything down that you've watched 15 years to grow, and they'll just ruin it, everything, like ruin all of it.
Not your
But if you,
land, not your eco.
yeah, so like, yeah, so if you're gonna sell it, you're probably you're gonna spend a lot of time making everything right, and then when you sell it, you're gonna watch it all go to hell. So it's like the only part where it's risky is like it's risky for your psyche, because you get to see everything you've worked so hard for get destroyed in a couple of years. But if
Yeah.
you want to make money, I would imagine it's one of the best ways to increase the value of any piece of land. I've been thinking about, like, I watched Paul Stamets. Like I think I've watched all his videos that he put online when I found him, and I watched this one presentation where he spoke about. I think it was, I don't forget what variety of mushroom it was, but he said that once he had like sawdust or something inoculated with the mushroom mycelia, and he got like 3 flushes out of it, like 3 different sets of mushrooms grew out of it, and then there was no more energy for the mycelia to grow mushrooms. So he wasn't expecting any more sort of yield out of it. And what he did was he just dunked the whole thing into like a canister of used oil. And what the mycelia does is it has like these millions of little fingers crawling in space, looking for nutrition, and each of the tips of the mycelia uh, constantly alter the sort of the acidity and the sort of the mechanism that it sort of tries to break the thing in front of it and see if it can create some kind of a nutrient out of it. And once one of the tips of the mycelia learns to use the longer hydrocarbons as energy, the whole mycelia learns to use it. So what happened was he dunked it in like waste oil, like transmission oil or something, like old with metal flakes and all kinds of crap. And eventually the mycelia learned how to use that for food. So it started to produce a new set of mushrooms, but clearly using the waste oil as food. So I've been thinking of trying to use that mechanism for cleaning like oil spills and stuff like that, like on land, because we have like these gas stations that have been shut, like closed for 20 years, but they still have the old underground gas, like these huge, what are they called? Like these big gas where they store all the gas underground.
Underground tanks.
Yeah, and the tanks have leaked into the ground. And if you buy the land, you're not allowed to build on it before you have to sort of physically remove all of the land and ship it elsewhere, somewhere where they handle like all these poisonous materials, and replace it with like completely new dirt from of sand pit somewhere. But wouldn't it be cheaper just to cover the whole thing up with inoculated sawdust, put like a 1.5 meter thick layer of inoculated sawdust over the plot and leave it there for a couple of years? Because it's not a big thing for mycelia to go like 300 feet underground looking for food. And if you were to have mycelia already sort of trained to find and use oil and these long hydrocarbons as a energy source, it would immediately seek everything under the surface and just pull it all up, and of course it would use the sawdust as well, and you could just gather all the mushrooms, dry them up, and grind them to a powder, and take that powder to be processed by a plant or something. You couldn't probably eat them because usually mushrooms draw all the heavy metals and stuff into them. But that would clean all the soil under the ground without you having to replace it or anything like that. So that might be something that I'm probably gonna look into once I'm rich, like the trolls who live in the mountains.
The trolls. I feel like time is the issue. People's respect for time would be the issue there. We also have environmental situation where you have to investigate the property, investigate whether it's been leaking. If it is that you want to reuse that piece of property, you can't just landscape over the top of it. You have to remove those tanks. So I believe first the ecological study needs to be done, then the tanks need to be removed, and then whatever cleanup, like what you were just talking about. The reason I actually I've just seen this a lot in Texas.
I would imagine, yeah. You guys have a bit of oil over there.
Yeah, everybody likes to drive cars.
Yeah, and you've got the. Don't you have like an oil well or two over there as well?
Yeah,
I've seen like I've seen Dallas when I was a kid, and Dynasty.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking just yesterday, like people who grow up in Dallas, I feel so sorry for them. I don't know if they've really had an ecological connection to their earth at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
But kind of like a tangent to this, I was down in Houston working as a draftsman for oil right after I got out of architecture school with drafting capabilities. During a recession, I got out of school, so I was just looking for whatever. So I was down in Houston whenever that Horizon oil spill happened. And during company meetings, I was the stupid young guy that would stand up and say, like, like, this is something we need to think about, as like a deeper meaning. Like, we need to think about this stuff. And everybody's just like on their green card, and they're just happy to be in the States and have their kids over here. And they're just like, this, if my boss doesn't say anything about it, I'm not going to do anything about it. But let's see. So
I like
go
to
ahead,
add.
HEXdreams.
Yeah. So Paul Stamets has done extensive research in oil spill cleanup, actually. So you can just build on his work.
Yeah.
2010 article.
And Paul Stamets, for people who don't know, Paul
He's a
Stamets
genius.
is the mushroom genius.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Fungi.
He also has. Fungi.com. Yeah. He also has this technique of purifying water out of the most disgusting sewage. He just makes it run through, I think, like 3 different containers, and from the last container drips out perfectly drinkable, absolutely pure water, and he just takes it through three different kinds of, I think it's just three different kinds of mycelia that he runs the water through. And it's really simple the way he does it. He sterilizes the sawdust by submerging it in water first, so it gets completely saturated with anaerobic bacteria. And when it's full of anaerobic bacteria, then he takes it out of the water and lets it dry. And while it dries, all the anaerobic bacteria get exposed to air and they die. So you're left with a sterile product that you can inoculate. So his methods can be used in the most horrible of situations, because all you need is like an IBC container and a bit of water, and it doesn't even have to be fresh water. He can use sewage or he can use salt water or whatever. It doesn't matter to the mycelia.
Yeah, one of the fun things that I picked out of one of the videos that was shared inside the Telegram group HEX Foodies was that the mycelium is making a layer underneath the ground surface that we can't see, and sometimes that layer can spread for miles and miles and miles.
Yeah.
And then it also transports nutrients from one place to another, and
at long distances. That's the same mechanics for why it can go so deep and purify the ground from really deep.
And just like
the same.
Just like crypto, that's freedom of speech. So there's an action that's being taken, therefore there's a communication that's happening.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So trees are communicating from one tree to another because of the way they interact with mycelium.
Yeah. And you can even see trees growing in the shade where they get so little sunlight that if they didn't have the mycelium interactions, they wouldn't be able to grow, because there's like the overstory trees that keep them in the shade. But it's the mycelia bringing in the nutrients and that the smaller trees need. And I think it's like 99% of all plant life on the planet that have a mycelia companion.
So in that same video, they explained that they were trying different small seed starts, and the seed start that did the best was the one that was inoculated with mycorrhizal.
Yeah.
Mycorrhizal, yeah. Hey, I wonder, have you guys ever bought any fungi to, live in a box inside your living room, and you harvest it for food? Have you ever bought one of these packages?
Yeah, I've grown this oyster mushroom. I started growing it on a toilet paper roll, and then once the toilet paper roll was completely inoculated, I dunked it in a bucket that was full of sawdust that I sterilized with just boiling water. And I made holes in the sides of the bucket and just put a lid on it and pretty much forgot it under a table in my kitchen. And all of a sudden, like a few weeks later, there was oyster mushrooms coming out of the side. It's really, it's a great way to get your kids involved. I think I took a piece. My kids were sort of daycare age at the time, so I took some to the daycare center. Oh, it doesn't focus that close.
So it's the company that I got some stuff from is farwestfungi.com out of South San Francisco, and I was very pleased with it. I probably purchased it a year ago, but I'm gonna send some to my niece, get her to witness it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to for children to follow how it sort of spreads and grows.
I have to jump in a few minutes, but I wanted to give you all a couple
please.
topics and to conclude a couple also. In reverse, Mushrooms also have been shown to help clean up radioactive waste. I shared a link in the HEX foodies group on this. Basically what's happening is it's called bioaccumulation. We have one organism that accumulates this and then keeps concentrating into more and more things. And what would happen in nature is an animal can eat all the mushroom caps, die, but it concentrated all the waste into a more condensed spot from it being spread out everywhere. So that's how nature cleans up stuff. It's a food chain will actually concentrate all to the apex predator. Back to the land trust, land regeneration for money. What I believe we need to move away from is property ownership. I know Finn and I disagree on this a bit, but I'm going to explain why. It's what he pointed out was that you spend 50 years regenerating land, and somebody buys it and they trash it
and ruins it. Yeah.
What I'm proposing,
I wouldn't want to do it, so I would want to own it and just keep it for me and my sort of posterity.
Right,
but please go on.
So what I'm suggesting is that you put the land into a trust. Now, when land's in a trust, you can actually sell leases as if you were selling the land that can be 99-year leases that can be infinitely renewable. So it's the same as ownership, with stipulations that they can't destroy the land, that they have to maintain it in a certain way. So it becomes a way for us to rebuild the commons where people have the benefits of ownership, but we also maintain the benefits of it being stewarded how we want. So it creates that win-win scenario. And that keeps the property value high, which is also desirable for other investors, because if you're selling lots and you buy a lot, think it's gonna be this beautiful forest, but then the rest of it gets bought up and chopped down, then your property value just went down. So this is a way to create a long-term plan for land that everybody gets the benefit from, because all the people who are buying that land now know that it's going to be preserved in that way, and you're benefiting because you put the work into it, and you can sell the lease for money, and not just a quick profit, but actually set up in a way that you can make multi-generational income.
And it's not a quick flip if you work 15 years for it. It would break my heart to see, like, I hate doing work for nothing. Like, working already in itself is bad enough, but working for, like, doing work for nothing is, like, absolutely horrible. We have, like,
I want to keep listening to you. I just want to say goodbye really quick, and thank you both. Please continue the conversation, and goodbye everybody else. So I'll be in the background.
I'll continue on your thought a bit while you're if you have to leave, hopefully you can still listen to it. So we have so we have a fund over here that is used to buy up land, and what the fund does is basically it locks all the people out of it, and they sell it like you're sort of preserving nature, but you're not preserving nothing if you exclude all life out and just leave it for, like, a bear every now and then, or like a lynx just runs past it, or like a moose comes and takes a dump. But if it's complete abandonment. It's not like you're not preserving anything if you do it like that. So I would much rather have it done in a way that HEXDragon was talking about.
So a stewardship.
I didn't have time to see this yet.
He just posted it. You're talking about what he put into Telegram.
No, I'm talking about the fellow who was grazing his animals, the homeless-looking guy. I didn't have time to see his videos. I was watching Gabe's videos the whole day. That guy is freaking awesome. He's like, he's about the same age as my dad, but oh my God, he's got some pep in his step. It was funny. Everybody should have watch at least the first part of the 3 parts that I shared in the HEX foodies chat.
Yeah, because someone posted one of Gabe's videos, and you were like, "If you're gonna go Gabe, go deep." And then he posted another one.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. He so entertaining and jam-packed, full of useful data. He keeps his animals outside through the winter, which is awesome. And it's
And
pretty cold where he's from, so he's giving me all kinds of ideas.
in the video from a distance, isn't it in like one of the Dakotas? And from a distance,
Yeah.
he points over there in the field, and you can kind of see like this area where there's this
Like a dip.
dip, yeah, in the snow, right? The snow
Yeah.
is just across the horizon, and there's this little dip, and he's like, "Those are the cows out there."
Yeah. I can just imagine all the purple-haired idiots over here complaining about me torturing cows if I let them out, spend the night out there. Like you would, yeah.
But they never had shit on their own shoe.
No.
You know?
But it would be like I've been looking at this. Actually, my brother brought it to my attention. There's this one farm which is like 100 hectares. I don't know how much that is in acres, but it's quite a lot. It has like 1 kilometer of lake shore on the property. The lake itself is like 3 kilometers, so that's like 2 miles long and like 1.5 miles wide. And there's no ditches that go into the lake, so it's a groundwater lake, and it's very deep. And nobody has a motorboat or anything on the lake. And yeah, it's like a older farm, but it still has like all the buildings have been well seen after, and just the forest alone is worth almost 200 grand. And you could snatch it up for I think it was like 400 grand or something.
So keep talking about that.
That's very interesting. So I was thinking that would be enough land because much like you guys, I'm interested in sort of growing the community, sort of that I would have like-minded people living close to me, and we would do sort of similar things, and that would benefit everybody. Like I could run cattle, and they could have like sheep, and somebody else could have the chickens, and everybody would have their own business, but we would still fit on the same piece of land because we take a different part of the, like everybody's animals would have their own duty on the land. So it would all be sort of working towards a common goal, and it would be easy in a situation like that because I could sort of build it up one house at a time, where I could go to the sort of the edge of my plot and build a house, make it look nice, and have it like a small garden and what have you, and then sell it to whomever I want to sell it to, and then they think that they sort of live there in the forests, but what do you know, all of a sudden I'm like 200 meters this way, I'm gonna start to build a new house, and it's gonna have a garden, but they won't be like within eyesight. They'd be far enough so that you can sort of you can just take a piss next to your garage and not worry about it, but still you have like you share the road or something. So that's about how much you would have to know your neighbor if you wanted to. And I could have a bit of a say in who's gonna live there at first, at least. I don't know, like they could sell it later, but maybe we could make it a place where, sort of like a permaculture version of a roach hotel where you only check in and you never leave because it's too nice.
You just get lost in that mirage.
And you'd be like, no, I got fresh water, I got my apple trees and stuff, and I got my chickens over there, and yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
We have the capability of taking a dance with nature. It's just whether we accept, put our hand out there and start making motions happen. I'm gonna make a sign in my front yard that says like nature's dance or something, because I've got fruit trees like up against my curb. Like if they try to excavate the water pipelines that are going just inside my curb, they're gonna destroy, or not destroy, but harm my fruit trees just a little bit. But I've been prepared for it because I want things to integrate.
Yeah. I've been thinking about putting apple trees right next to our property here, and maybe grow them like the Belgians have this really nice looking way. It's there's a bit of work involved, but I think it's exfoliate or whatever it's called, where you sort of you force the branches to grow like to the side, and you only let it go up like so that it splits like 3 or 4 times, and then the branches sort of meet in between and grow into each other. So it grows into like a fence, which is pretty tight in one direction, but then you remove all the branches that grow sort of towards the road or too much towards the yard. So you'd have like a fence of apple trees or pear trees or something, and it would be easy pickings for the kids or whoever happens to walk by.
Well, like espalier, but that word that you're struggling with, I struggle with as well.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in, was it Toby's book? And so like he would just put 2 posts, wood lattice,
Yeah.
and then he would just zip tie or some sort of metal twine these things together. But yeah, it's that center that comes up, and then take the first 2, and then up another 6 inches or a foot, and then another, just keep making this wall. And I'm actually going to do that in front of this window that's over here. I think what I'm going to do is have instead of having the bushes right next to the house, right wrapped around the house and making the house look nice, or like covering that skirt around the edge of the house. Instead, I'm going to have it to where my walkway is where those stupid bushes are that became popular back in the 60s, 70s, and post World War. So I'll have a walkway there, and then I'll have this kind of like blinder latticing happening right in front of the window, but further away from it on the other side of the walkway. And then that'll give me room to take the rainwater wherever it is that I want to do that.
And you get a bit of privacy on the whole of your property that way. Like if I'm gonna get a lot of land, I'm taking heed of what the Duke of Permaculture said, and I'm gonna just get some land. I'm gonna build some kind of an obstacle so that people can't directly see from the road into my property and be like eyeing at what I'm doing all the time, because that's where you get most of the complaints from people who don't understand what's going on, and they think they're saving the world when they're in fact just making it more difficult for everybody.
Yeah, so the Duke of Permaculture is Paul Wheaton, and he recommends that you put a mound, and if you can do it with wood inside of it, hugelkultur, but make that mound at least 8 feet tall, and have it wrap all the way around your property, like at the edge of your property. Allow yourself to have a little way of getting in between them with your truck and everything. But I've actually recommended that to someone recently, and they started doing it, and then they didn't quite conceptualize that you don't want the wood sticking out of the mound because it'll act like a straw and dehydrate all the wood that's inside the mound.
Yeah.
And then it can be infested with all sorts of vermin, ants, all sorts of things that you may not want.
Snakes and hedgehogs and whatever.
So
Anything that wants to dig into it, they'll just follow the. Yeah, go ahead.
So I haven't followed up on that piece of property. I might even do that today. I don't know if I have anything else to do today. I've been meaning to go out there. They're a little bit east of me. They have sandy loam soil, wonderful trees that have grown out of this piece of land that has allowed to become a forest in the last 50 years or something. And I'd really like to check up and make sure that they're taking my advice the right way instead of fucking it up just a little bit. And then, oh, my advice was wrong. No, instead you just constructed it wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Usually that's what happens. People sort of half-assedly listen to what you're saying, and then they already create like an image in their mind about what you were talking about, and it's all like a half-assed attempt usually is a 100% failure. You don't like succeed 50%, you fail 100%.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that we talk about that has been really thoroughly tested and thought through, and there's like a bit of science actually behind some of the things that we talk about.
Because everybody's a scientist. It's just that does your mind accept that? Do you actually play with the matter that is around you? Everybody's a scientist. To some degree. It's just how interested are you in making something happen?
Yeah.
So we couldn't fish out Gabe Brown. Brown is his last name. We couldn't fish that out of our heads earlier. So
Gabe Brown was the guy. Yeah.
There's tons of YouTubes out there.
He has a
Gabe is
website.
doing a great
I think
job.
it was brownfarm.us. I think was his website, or brownfarms.us or something.
So it's a family farm. He's got his son working with him. Maybe
daughter is working her way into it. Like I think she didn't want to work on the farm, but she's slowly, now that they're really picking up pace, she's going into the marketing side.
And he's influencing people. So there's other people that aren't related that are getting underneath his wing of advice.
Yeah.
So
and he's a great guy. He like I watched one video just recently, and he said that every intern that he's had, if he's sort of seen that they really want to get into farming and they really want to start their own business, he'll be their first customer and he'll finance the business. Like he'll get them like all the stuff, and he'll buy their produce at a fair price because he needs to make some money too, but he'll pay them enough that they'll be in profit from the year they start. And if you're in profit from the get-go, there's no stopping you to expand and move on to like bigger and better things while you're in the black, which is awesome. But like absolutely, like an admirable guy, like, seriously.
Yeah, I think what he said was like young people who think that they want to go out there and start fresh with all the financial responsibilities of a piece of property, instead get a small operation going and then expand and expand and expand, as you become your role, and make sure that you like what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. He also he had a great thing he was talking about. I wonder if it was sheep he was talking about, and there was this lady who was asking that, don't you have a problem with them bloating up when they eat all this fresh grass and stuff? And he was like, no, I don't have any problems. They die only once. And once they die, or worming, it was worming that way. like, don't you have a lot of parasites and stuff? And I was like, no, they just the ones that have worms, they die only once, and then rest of the pack don't have worms.
Very
But he
interesting.
did say he like he is humane to his animals, so of course he deworms them or treats them if they're really sick, but he don't let them reproduce. So they're the first ones to go to the slaughterhouse when the next batch has to go. He makes sure that the sick ones and the ones that he had to help deliver or whatever, they're the ones that leave the herd, and they're not sort of bringing the overall genetics down of the herd.
Yeah.
So makes perfect sense.
The breed herding that we had covered in a previous video.
It's so yeah.
Culling
just,
the breed, right?
Or mob
breeding.
Mob breeding, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize, but that's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
So I've got a few things to say before, like, because we've hit an hour now. I think that it would be kind of fun to like daydream right now, like some things that are on my mind of what can come out of this group in Hex Foodies Telegram group. Is I think that we could make a recommended food list for human beings. You know, if it is that you think that you want to change your diet, then possibly you could try out these foods, and in combination or not combination. Let's see. I've got somebody recommended a vitamin C shower head to filter your water. I've ordered 2 of those. They're on their way. So I'm really excited about that.
That's very interesting.
You posted about C60.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me.
It is, yeah. I can see the Ken guy over there in the picture. That's the Ken Schwartz or something. What's his name? Ken, the science guy.
I think that you've bought this C60 stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's expensive stuff. So you have to be a Hexican to afford it. I bought like
Come on, give me an idea.
It's like a quarter of a liter, like 250 milliliters, and I think it was like $190 or something.
How much do you drink at a time?
Like a tablespoon.
I was thinking it was going to be in a pill, but I guess that makes sense.
No, it's like the like old-fashioned cod liver oil. It doesn't come in a capsule or anything. And if you happen to pick the worst tasting oil, it's not good at all. So yeah, you need a shot of vodka to help it go down.
Is that?
But it's good to have, like, if you're gonna order it, you should try having it in the morning, so that you, for instance, you can have like eat an apple or two before, like 5 minutes before you eat it, because once the apple hits your stomach, it produces oxygen, and there's vitamin C in apples naturally, so it's gonna and when the C60 enters your system and it's in your stomach, it's gonna take, I think it's gonna take like 3 pieces of 3 sort of units of vitamin C inside the molecule, and then it goes into your circulation, and it sort of travels through your system, and it goes wherever it wants to, and it deposits vitamin C somewhere and takes out antioxidants from or other gunk from inside your cells. So it's another rabbit hole that you can spend a good week or two just watching that Ken fella's videos. He's gone deep into it, but it's over 150 times more effective antioxidant than just regular vitamin C.
I'm really happy that I got my dad aware
Yeah.
maybe 10 years ago. So he's often digging for answers and stuff. Yes, John S., I did get the vitamin C filter, shower filters that you put a link for. Thank you very much. And Yozo is commenting about vitamin C.
Olive oil and avocado. Let's see. It is not enough to have olive oil and avocado. The C60 is the only form of carbon that is sort of, you can mix it into oil and it disappears completely. So you cannot separate it from the oil once you've mixed it into the oil. It's oil soluble, which is unheard of if you think about carbon, like charcoal or something. You try to mix that into olive oil and you're never going to succeed. But if you mix C60 molecules into olive oil, the olive oil turns purplish color and all of the C60 disappears into it. And the oil is sort of the vessel that brings it into your system. So you can't have it like it's no good if you eat it like as a powder or something, or you can't sprinkle it over your porridge. It has to be mixed into oil for your body to be able to consume it.
Interesting. I hope
And it
that,
doesn't store in your organs or in your brains or anything. So it doesn't matter how much you consume today, you'll eject all of it tomorrow when you wake up. And it does its job while it's in your system, but eventually you'll pee it out.
Let's see what other. So another idea that I think this group can go forward with, and I believe Hex Dragon is already waving his flag, in the front of the line, towards understanding how we can put just a little bit of our Hexagon wealth toward land, toward a trust.
Yeah,
to
that actually made perfect sense to me. So
to have it to where our land is able to stand on its own without us, I guess, paying year after year after year for this sort of stuff. I don't know.
Well, he'll explain his idea the next time we're on, I'm sure. But I really liked the sort of the first pitch that he threw out there. Even though I like to think that I would do a better job, like just running it the way I want to run it. But you gotta face the facts. I won't be running it forever, and if I don't, or if we don't take into consideration that the land is gonna be here once we're not here, like people are like, life is hard, and it's extra hard if you're stupid. so we need to prepare for like a hard life and stupid people, and we gotta make it so that it doesn't matter how silly you are, it's really difficult to cock it up once we get it going into the right direction.
Okay, so another thing that this group can do is if anybody has any property right now that they would like to put under the microscope for the rest of the group to maybe brainstorm on, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I know that Togash here in Texas has a small piece of property. It's only half an acre or so, and he has yet to live on the property and yet to make improvements on it. And I think it would be really cool to get that land, and have a conversation about it. Maybe I could do a site visit and answer everybody's questions. I personally am on like 0.1 of an acre in my downtown area. So I've got some techniques that I'm using in a small area without any animals which I think that would be fun to share, because we've got all different types of people in all different environments and all different situations in their life. And
Yeah.
so like, you know, Hex farmers talking about like basically the homeless getting off the street and getting onto a farm and making themselves useful and starting to grow acceptance for who they are, and what is that confidence, you know?
Yeah, and homelessness has a lot to do with like mental issues, and most of the mental issues derive from feelings of worthlessness. So if you can bring into a person's life, if you can bring meaning and meaningful activity and feeling of worth and accomplishment, I believe a lot can be achieved.
Cool. So yeah, Hex Dragon, we're expecting you to make a presentation in the future. And then everybody in this group, please hold my feet to the fire for this list of foods. I'll head up that operation because I think that would be great to throw that into all the Hexicans and say like, hey, this was brought to you by Hex Foodies. If you want to change your diet, try this roller coaster.
Yeah. Hey, it's getting that late, and I'm again home with the kids, so I think it's about time I hop out. But I'll see you again next week. I'll be on time.
Thanks so much for joining. Don't worry about the timing.
All right. Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you guys. I'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.